Hey, welcome to Wanderlusting Lawyer. I'm here with my buddy Cashew. He hasn't visited with you guys in a while and he wanted to show off his fall colors for his new bandana. Say hi, Cashew. You know, a lot of them come here just to see you. They don't even care about what I say. You're too cute. Anyway, he just wanted to say hello and wish you all a happy fall, start to fall. It doesn't really feel like fall here in Florida, but we're gonna get there soon. All right. You go back to sleep. So today I'm going to talk about something that I've talked about before, and I've seen it come up really a lot lately. I think as people, even though people are setting off on their Caminos, now other people are planning ahead and trying to figure out what is the best time of year to walk the Camino de Santiago. Now, obviously, there are different routes, and so this answer will vary, and it's also extremely subjective, person to person. And I realized, even though I've made a video, I think that's exactly called When's the Best Time of Year to Walk the Camino de Santiago, I can't really speak to that because I have only ever walked, even though I've walked 3 different Camino routes, I've only ever walked in one season, and that's really summer season, so June and July. I walked the Camino Francés in June and July. I walked the Camino Aragonés in July, and I walked the Camino Inglés in June. So I do think I'm kind of an expert in walking during those times, even though I've been lucky enough to avoid any of the really crazy heat waves. That's been really lucky. But so instead, I'm going to specifically talk today about my top 7 reasons to walk the Camino Francés in June and July. And if there's anything that's a little bit different based on my experience in the Camino Inglés, which is 5 days just in Galicia, a region that's known for being a little bit rainier, as I learned, more humid, maybe a little chillier, I will address those in the context of these 7 reasons. And yeah, just to be clear, this is the Camino Francés. So this is not, for example, the Via de la Plata, which leaves from Sevilla and you can easily face over 100-degree Fahrenheit days in those months. I probably would not recommend a June or July Camino on that route. But for the Camino Francés, there are at least 7 reasons I think it's a great time to go. The first is you get to avoid the very, very heavy seasons on the Camino Francés, which is April, depending on when Easter is, April, but really May 1st and September 1st onward. For whatever reason, I think because a lot of people want to miss what they are worried about being like the very intense summer heat, people like to travel on the Camino in May and September, and there's something about starting on the 1st of the month that I think just feels very clean to people. And as an anecdote, when I finished my Camino Inglés in mid-June in Santiago, I was chatting with a German couple that had just finished the Francés and had started on May 1st, and they said it was extremely packed. They could not find a bed. People who hadn't booked ahead had a really, really, really difficult time finding a bed for the first several days. So it's less of a pleasant experience, especially for pilgrims that aren't interested in booking ahead and want to carry their pack. And the pack part has more to do with the items you'll need. I think you need fewer items in the summer, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. And no judgment at all if you want to have your pack transported, or if you want to book ahead, that's a totally valid way of doing the Camino. But if those aren't things you're necessarily interested in, then you should really look at June and July because the numbers drop down a lot. I think it's wonderful to start in like early to mid-June and then finish into July. That's what I did on the Francés, and I thought it was just perfect. But you avoid those really, really crowded seasons. So if that's important to you, then June and July are a great time to go. But my number 2 reason is actually probably for me my number 1 reason personally. And that is that you get the longest days of the year. In Spain, the sun stays out I don't think the sun sets until after 10, right? So the longest day of the year is, I think, June 21st, June 22nd, June 21st, June 20th. And so you are getting really, really long days, which maybe for some people if you want to go to bed early, can make it more challenging. But if you're going to bed early in an albergue setting, you're probably able to sleep through anything anyway. And if you're staying at a private hotel, one of the best things about Spain are their what they call persianas. They're blinds that sit basically inside the window and closed down so that no even like drop of light can come in the room, so you'll be fine. But I love, love, love the longer days, because if you want to leave later in the morning and walk more slowly or have longer days or just take your time because maybe the weather is warmer, it still leaves you plenty of time to arrive to a location, do your laundry, visit the town some, have dinner, and go to bed at a reasonable hour. I remember on my Camino Aragonés, and I would not advise this, but the days were quite long and challenging, and one or 2 days that I did not finish until like 7:30 p.m. And I still had time, like I said, to do everything I mentioned, the laundry, eating, and getting to bed at a decent hour. So, I would not want to be walking in the dark at night. That's just a personal preference. So I think that becomes more challenging, especially in months where the sun is setting, more around 6 p.m., 7 p.m. Just becomes more of a challenge for me to have like an enjoyable experience and let my days kind of take me where they will. And Spain's great too, because a lot of the touristic places stay open a little bit later, sometimes 8, 9, 10 p.m. If you're looking to go out to dinner, places that cater to pilgrims will open a bit earlier, but in general, dinner in Spain is more like 9, 10, 11 p.m. So it still gives you a time to kind of enjoy the sunlight, even though you're having a later dinner. And it's awesome for getting your laundry to dry if you're not using a dryer. The Spanish sun is so strong, so even if your clothes don't make it on the line until, 5, 6 p.m., they should be able to dry if there's nice big sun still out there. So yes, the long days for me are massive. I love that part about walking in the summer. Number 3, so relatedly, the weather. The weather in the summer, yes, you can get heat waves, and they can be late May, they can be June, July, August. I did not experience any. I mean, there were days that were probably in the 90s and 30 degrees Celsius, but then there were also evenings that were in the 50s. I mean, you just get a variety of temperatures, and I think you're well equipped to, to handle those. You can walk shorter days on the Camino Francés. You can leave earlier, and Spain does have cooler mornings, even if it's been a hot night. I had on that same Camino, like I said, it was very, very chilly sometimes in the morning, even if it had been hot the day before. So you have more of a variety of the weather, but you shouldn't have much rain. Famous last words, don't hold me to that. I've been lucky. I've only ever walked in one day of pretty bad rain. But I wouldn't say you need like the heavy duty rain gear. And you also don't need anything for the snow. Don't forget that at some of the higher elevation points, it can snow even in May. And so if you don't have gloves, a hat, a down jacket, and are not super used to snow and cold weather like that, it's probably going to be a pretty uncomfortable experience. So I love the weather in the summer, and I think it allows you to, like I said, relatedly to point 4, have a lighter pack. You don't need to bring a lot of the same heavier duty gear that you may need for colder weather or rainier weather Caminos. Number 5, the foliage for me is just, the summer is the best of all worlds. You still have, especially if you start walking in June, you still have a lot of the beautiful spring wildflowers, especially the red poppies that if you've seen pictures of, not quite the meseta, but when you leave Logroño capital, but you're still in the province, there are some beautiful landscapes there. The grass is still green. It's usually brownish by the fall. You can start to get sunflowers in July. Just beautiful blue skies, really interesting cloud formation. So I just think kind of the beauty of the scenery is really lovely at that time. Although I'm sure the fall would be pretty if the trees are of the kind that change colors, which, I'm not an expert on the trees in Spain, but I just really enjoy the scenery in the summer. And you also, this wasn't even on my list, but I'm thinking of it now, you also get a chance to swim. You are walking by a lot of places. If you've seen my video about bringing a bathing suit on the Camino or alternatives, you're walking by a lot of rivers. There are places with pools or kind of man-made river dams in the middle of the city, and so it's just an enjoyable experience to get to swim. I know on the Camino del Norte, you know, you're walking along the coast and you're walking by tons of beaches. So if that's of interest to you, that's a definite plus on walking in the summer. Pilgrim diversity. So again, I haven't walked in other seasons, but I really like the diversity that I saw in the summer, and I think it's because a lot of people on the summer holidays, you know, Europeans tend to get longer vacations in the summer, so they can take the time. For, you know, students are on holidays, so you get a little bit of a younger crowd as well. Teachers have, in general, several months off if they don't have other jobs in the summer. So I just found that when I walked, there was just a great diverse group of pilgrims. I saw people, you know, who were 17, 18 years old. And I'm not talking about, you know, there are also big groups of students, but those aside, you know, I saw people everywhere from well, some people brought their kids, but from age 17 to, you know, 80, 85. So I really enjoyed that diverse group and people from all over the world, really. And then also because it's summer, you get a lot of fun celebrations in the different towns. I could probably figure out what it's called. I'll see if I can. But when we stayed in Nájera, the town after Logroño, I love Nájera. It was like, remind me of Red Rocks, Colorado. They were having some town celebration, and during the late afternoon, there was some big foam fight party in the town that the kids were all running and screaming in. And then I thought this was fabulous. Other people were less enthused, but it was lights out in the albergue. Everyone had just recently gone to bed. You know, I'd been in bed maybe 15, 20 minutes, and all of a sudden music, like live band music, brass band, like think of marching band, starts blasting outside the windows because it was a Saturday, and because it was their fair, you know, they came right by the albergue, and it was just a party in the streets. We all got up to look at it, and I think most people thought it was amusing, like it was a good experience even if you'd been woken up from your sleep. So I enjoy things like that. And if you time it right, I've talked about this before, if you time it right, if you leave from Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port, it's like from June 15th to June 22nd, 23rd, depending on how quickly you walk, you can actually time it so that you're in Santiago for July 24th and 25th to celebrate St. James Day, if that's something that's interesting to you. So I think there's so much good about walking in June and July. I'd love to, if you have other thoughts on why that's a great time to walk, please drop them in the comments below. And if you alternatively loved walking in April, May, September, October, or in the winter, please also leave comments because, you know, I need to get motivated to do Caminos in other times of the year. So anyway, I hope that was helpful. Drop a like if this helped you, and I'll see you in the next one.